going back to the world of real estate and REITs. Christine Massandrea is with us, President, COO, Whitestone REIT. Thank you for being with us. So
Good to see you, Nicole.
The time for real estate? I know we've had a lot of fluctuations, and there are many times people say, look, you just go for real estate. It's not really the kind of thing you can time. I don't know. What say you now?
Well, I think it is a good time. I think in particular being in the public markets that when one thinks about real estate, too often they think about just how it's affected by leverage and debt and the cost of debt. And what we found in particular over the last really 10 years, ever since the great financial crisis, that most REITs have deleveraged significantly, so they're less impacted by it as they were before. That being said, also, if you're bullish on the American consumer, real estate is where you want to be. We have a new demography that's growing and spending differently, and there's a lot of opportunity.
So when we think about the fact they've deleveraged, you're thinking that they're in a better position, less risk, less weight on the balance sheet, for example. What kind of REITs work now?
So a couple of areas in particular I would focus on. We happen to be in retail. It's one of the favorite areas that I see right now because the supply and demand has changed so significantly. People are coming back into the shop space. The physical space is becoming more and more important. Why is that? Because it's a little hard to get to buy consumers online, and you need a physical shop space as well. In addition to that, there's not enough of it that's been built. We have not seen a number of centers being built for the last 10 years, so there's a significant demand-supply imbalance. And I would say that you're going to see almost the same thing soon with multifamily and apartments, because you have seen a stop in that building. At the same time, there's not enough homes for the new population growth. And so you're going to see the same thing happening there as well in the next, probably next 6 months to a year.
Yeah, and I know you can't recommend specific REITs, perhaps, but there's other areas that continue to do well, like restaurants, right?
Yes, restaurants. I think what I see the most interesting things that has been happening in our space is the type of restaurants. So there's a real shift in spend, especially in macro spend. It shouldn't be a surprise that Cava is such a darling right now. Why? Because the consumer's leaning more into health, but also affordability. People are not spending, they're spending more still in the restaurant space, but they're going a little bit less often, and they're also looking for a better value. So we're still seeing that increasing spend on food, but it's just changed. The spending habits have changed, a little less white tablecloth, more fast casual, more affordability in the restaurant space.
When we think about what rates are, commercial real estate, regular real estate, we look at mortgage rates. Rates have come down a bit lately. Do you expect them to continue to come down?
Especially after the last week. I mean, the 10-year Treasury has really decreased dramatically. I think it's a surprise to all of us. One would hope, but I've learned never to predict. But I would say that really rates there's been an anomaly previous to this, that most of the time we've lived in the space of rates being around this price range pretty much for 30 years. It's just that we had, pretty cheap debt there for a little too long, probably overextended too far, but things are starting to normalize again. That's what we're finding.